What's up, my evergreen friends? I am Forest Boy, and welcome to something a little bit unusual. I know this is different from basically everything that's on my channel, but I wanted to talk with my buddy here about how gaming has changed. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Howdy y'all, Mecha here, and we'll be talking about mainstreaming, I think.
Yeah, well,
Not exactly mainstreaming, but it has. It's just the only word that we could come up with it.
things have game studios have started to change what they want to focus on in terms of the content they put in their games.
I see it as in the earlier days, companies made what they wanted.
Yes.
Nowadays they make what
They
other
think
people are
people
wanting to
want.
buy. Yeah, what would make the most purchases. So
Now, the interesting thing there is about that is
but
that
does that mean a downslide of quality in product? No.
in some cases we have seen very obvious things where the quality has gone down. Like, sure, it looks pretty, but the gameplay just isn't there. It's either so generic that nobody's interested, or so all over the place that it's not even really finished, like they couldn't focus in on anything.
Kind of like the Sonic 06 stuff.
Pretty much, yes, actually. Although I'm not sure if that was a victim of mainstreaming, that was just a lack of clear direction.
Yeah. People saying, well, we think people will like this. Is it what you want? Well, other people will like it, so try to put it in there anyway. Sometimes you gotta say, if, they may just like it. Don't worry that they have to like it. Because you try to bring in a lot of people because I understand that companies like to make money, and some changes are good. You can't keep static because eventually it would get boring. If all the Elder Scroll games were like Arena, well, then it would be boring. They'd say, well, it's the same game with a different name.
Well, yes. Now, I can understand that, but at the same time, they did make some good progress. Like, I feel like... I'm not sure what your full opinion on it is, but I feel like Oblivion was a good middle when in their game systems. Like, it wasn't.
I would have said Morrowind was a good middle, right there. But
yeah, I can also.
I'll throw the coin on your side.
I can see your point, but just give me a second. Well, not everyone wants the heaviest, most in-depth RPG experience ever, but they do want to play an RPG, right? Then other people do want to have a really customizable RPG and their own story they can forge, And I feel like Oblivion hit that middle because it wasn't too complicated in terms of RPG, but there was still lots of ways you could alter your character and really focus in on specific skills.
I'll play devil's advocate on this and be the bad guy, so to speak, and say, well, if you don't want an in-depth RPG that's that deep, then don't buy the game.
I can
leave
see
it
that.
For us. That's like if you can't handle the math and the numbers of Dungeons and Dragons and the dice rolling, then don't buy it.
Exactly.
But they don't change it to suit you because you want to get involved. Either get the numbers and the dice or stay out of it. Because that is the core concept of the game.
I see what you mean. But as popular as Elder Scrolls was, they saw that they could probably improve their market by simplifying things. And that's how we ended up getting Skyrim.
Yeah, and then you simplify things to the point where, well, it's not really an RPG, it's a hack and slash with Viking elements.
Teeny tiny RPG elements.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers go up when you swing the sword, but
that's not really role-playing, that's just stat improvement. Any game can do that.
That's grinding. That's
exactly.
I mean, I had somebody put the three most recent things into three most recent Elder Scroll games when it comes to PC, whatnot, that you don't count online and Legends and all that.
Yeah.
But they said Morrowind had the best story or the best RPG. I think they said Morrowind either had the best story. I think they said that it was the best story, Oblivion had the best quest, and Skyrim had the best immersion. But I think that what they meant was graphics-wise. It was just because of the graphics and the ambience and the feeling of it, it was something that you can get more into. And I think they were one that was pro-mainstream, like, hey, keep it simple so I can access it easy and I don't really have to work. I hate to say that, but I'll use the term. You don't really want to work for your character. You want your character already usable with no, time invested into it. And I can understand that some people are busy. You have school, jobs, college, whatever have you. But my devil's advocate to that is, don't play games if you don't have time to dedicate to it.
Or at least try finding a game that suits those needs better, right?
Yeah, play like Call of Duty. It's a 2 to 3 minute long match. It's enjoyable. I wouldn't really advise anybody to play Call of Duty, but you know what I mean. Play something that's more quicker paced. Play League of Legends. So the thing I find with Skyrim that really, of course, when it was first released, I was just excited as everybody else, and I played it like everybody else. But as I played it and time went on, and especially storyline, I wasn't looking for, like, what can I do because I'm bored. I was looking at, there's nothing for my character to do, if you know what I mean. There's plenty for me to do, because there's plenty of dungeons and, dragon priest masks to collect. There's plenty for me to do, but there's nothing for my character to do. And the way I guess to explain that is when you start, you're already the Dragonborn. You're at the end of your story, so to speak.
You actually never really have to prove yourself. You just, bam, you're the Dragonborn.
Pretty
really early in, too. You earn those shouts. You absorb your first Dragon Soul pretty early into the game.
Yeah, you may get more shouts, but you really don't improve as a hero, so to speak.
You're given what you need throughout the storyline. You never really have to become better via your own action.
It just kind of falls into place for you, and you just got to pick up the pieces.
Yes.
Instead of
Hell,
when
you could
it's like, hey,
brute
you're
force
a
your
nobody.
way through the Alduin fight. Just go buy enough health potions, and you'll be fine.
I've beat Alduin by when he summoned. I sit there and went behind the rock, put down the controller, and I went out and ate pizza and came back, and I was the
that's
Dragonborn.
Right. You're actually not sent out one-on-one. The other two Nordic heroes follow you out there too.
You can't even have the final fight by yourself.
So yeah, you actually could defeat Alduin by not even doing anything.
Exactly. The game. That's what I'm saying. When it comes to mainstream, and they made it so simple. Literally, you sit down the controller and the game plays itself.
Yes.
You gotta think there's a difference between thinking that we're stupid and thinking that it's complex. Gameplay is not complex. Us fighting a boss is not really a complex thing. I understand
we've been
having
doing that
5 different styles of sword may be confusing to some people, but maybe your grandmother. But the newer age people are tech savvy, even at age 3. They have a understanding, like, I know the difference between a 2-handed sword, a 1-handed sword, a short sword, and a dagger. I know that there's a difference in there.
I know I'm hitting another personal thing, but I feel like that's some of the appeal of an RPG, right? Being able to try things and figure out, okay, this is what I want to be in this world. It's like getting another chance at life, really.
Yeah, it's like, well, I can't be a fire spewing wizard that levitates and armor on.
Yeah.
But you take that away, say, like, levitation, you don't levitate anymore since Morrowind because, quote-unquote, the Emperor banned it. Well, who the hell cares what the Emperor...
Can I be a lawbreaker, then? Can I still levitate?
It's like, well, if I'm an evil assassin...
Then I should be able to break the law and levitate.
Emperor thinks? What do I care? I mean, you broke up. I don't know what happened to you, but
I said that if I'm an assassin, I should be able to break the law and levitate. I'm already not above board as is.
yeah, it's like, well, because it would break our world immersions. No, you took it. I think people would understand this concept of floating around in a 3D space. Games have been 3D since the Nintendo 64.
Yes.
It's not that hard a concept to know. I know what up is. I know I could fly up and then over this tree. Yeah, it might eliminate some travel, but if you noticed, I guarantee you, out of 1,000 Skyrim players, 1,000 of them are going to say, I fast travel anyway.
Yes.
So, but for those that want to role play, walk to places or hover over places or water breathe underwater, let me ask you this. How many times have you looked underwater in Skyrim and looked for things?
Actually, I have many times because I've played Skyrim to death, and they didn't do anything. They have potions of water breathing, Argonians have water breathing, they have all kinds of things, enchantments of water breathing, and there's no point to
nothing.
it. There's nothing down there.
In Morrowind, there was entire cities down there that you could explore that was all Daedric worshippers that would kill you, but there were cities. There were literal cities underwater.
There's a reason to it. There's something to explore.
They had shipwrecks.
They didn't just throw water breathing as a way of like saying, "Oh yeah, you can water breathe." No, there's a point to doing that.
In Oblivion, they really dumbed it down. It's like, well, there's some pearls that you can gather, which you might be able to do that here.
At least there's still a point. The most you'll get out of Skyrim is pearls that are cheap. You can buy them from a store basically anywhere, any potion shop. Yeah,
in Oblivion, they had a few.
There is one shipwreck.
That required
there is
water.
One deep underwater shipwreck in northern Skyrim, and that is it. And the stuff you get from it isn't even really good.
And in Morrowind, if you go to northern Morrowind, there's over 14 shipwrecks that's up there.
So I think we need to start curtailing our conversation a little bit, like get back more on track. Like, this is a symptom of mainstreaming.
Well, I mean, it is different. It is. It's the mainstream. It's because, well, I mean, people may not have time, or they might think it's a complicated thing to go dive underwater with water breathing.
Well, then they don't have to. You can put it there for the people who want to, and the people who don't want to can go do something else. That is part of making a good game.
Yeah, I mean,
a good RPG, open world, you know.
Don't alienate your original fans, because when you made Arena, it was one of those D&D hardcore to be absolutely perfect or your character ain't no good kind of game. You know, you had to do everything right. And then Daggerfall was, you know, a little bit more forgiving, but they had a ton more stats added to it that you can, you know, you can learn to speak Imp.
Yes.
In Daggerfall, and that way an Imp has a chance of not attacking you. Just because you know its language, you're like, "Sup, homie?"
I feel like there could be an interesting counterbalance that companies could start to hit. I feel like they need to focus less on graphics, because graphics are screwing everything over. They spend forever making an 8K resolution skin texture, and they don't have time to make anything particularly good, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to say is, if you want to mainstream things, if you want to make it so that the more people will play your games, make more stuff in the game. Like, you know how we're talking about, like, it was too much for, like, if you don't want to go shipwreck diving?
Yeah.
If you wanted to fix that, make more stuff. If someone doesn't want to go shipwreck diving, give them an alternate route. Give more things to do so people can do whatever they want.
Yeah, I think I still got it pretty much down when it comes to Skyrim. I have plenty to do, but my character has nothing to do. You know, when you go to Skyrim, no matter what you pick, if you pick a high elf, you start with the same stats, pretty much. If you start with a orc, same stats. You have the same strength as a Bosmer.
Yeah, right there. That's the thing that's a good point you made, because Skyrim, they simplified mainstreaming it. They streamlined everything To the point where, yeah, the different characters have different stats, but due to the way Skyrim's set up, there is absolutely no punishment for trying out as many skills, all skills, at all. There's no reason to specify, because you can be all of it.
Yeah, so that's when I said the Skyrim one is basically you're already good at everything.
Yes.
Everything's already there for you. When you go to like Oblivion, it's like, well, if you do not pick this as your main skill and your race is kind of good at it,
you're going to be having a lot of issues.
Yeah. Yes, you can pick a wizard that's good at, heavy armor and a dagger and bow and arrow.
But you can only be good at so much. You're going to have to specify more of what you really want to do.
Yeah, true. You can technically be anything you want to be, but you won't have fun doing it. But you're still going to
specialize in something. Your character's just not going to be as good at that as its major skills. Another thing about them streamlining all the classes and specifications and how much, putting your character into a niche or broadening your character's skill set, is the fact that they had to create their quests around that, right?
Well, depending on what you was going, if you was a wizard working for the wizards, then yeah, you would need high intelligence and good magic, and you wouldn't get anywhere in the fighter's guild because you don't have no strength.
Due to the fact that they can't really predict where a character is going to go because they let you be anything, they had to really dumb down how quests go. It usually just devolves into a dungeon crawl. Go pick up this thing. Go talk to this guy. And there's no using your talents.
And in Morrowind, they had that all planned out. Hey, if you're a warrior and you join the Fighters Guild, you're going to have warrior quest.
Yes.
You need to be good at warrior classes. So if you're a wizard and you join us,
there may be moments where your skills are going to come in handy because you have to use this spell to get through here.
Well, if you're a mage and you join them, they're like, hey, you may be able to do quests, but you won't advance. We can't promote you because you need to be good at certain skills. You won't get paid anymore. And eventually you'll run out of quests and you're in a dead end. Why? Because you're a wizard. You're meant to roleplay as a wizard, so go play as a wizard. I guess eventually you might get good at heavy armor enough, but why? If you want to do that, then play a warrior.
Morrowind also did this great thing where your skills actually could actively affect how you decide to deal with things. Like if you decide to focus on acrobatics, you might try sneaking in through a more odd route because you can jump farther and higher than anyone else.
And if you ask anybody, well, how many playthroughs have you done with Skyrim? Oh, I'm on my 5th character. You mean you're on your 5th Dragonborn? Because
as much as you can be oh, I was an orc, oh, I was a Khajiit, but all in all, it kind of ends up being the same thing.
And the people's like, well, it's confusing. No. Make a wizard and do the wizarding stuff. There's your wizard character. Now pick a stealth character. Now do the stealth stuff like the Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood. There's your stealth character. Now do the warrior stuff like the fighter, the Redoran House. You have so many different options there with just one. You do have all the options available to you still. You could do a Skyrim and make one character to do everything. It would just take you a long time to do it.
Honestly, that's kind of the way I've been doing Morrowind, just because I do like doing a little bit of everything. I don't mind time.
That's why I don't understand for this mainstreaming. It's unnecessary because you can do that. People see all these numbers and say, well, it's too much to have to build, destruction and then this skill and this skill and this skill just to advance.
Honestly, if
why play the game?
Only one thing I could do. If someone sat me down and told me mainstream Morrowind, there's only one thing I would really do, and that is make leveling a little faster, maybe. So you could specify your character a little quicker.
I can look at my You can look at my characters on Morrowind at level 1. And you'd be able to tell an immediate difference between each one of them.
Now, into mainstreaming, yet again, it's the thing of, we don't want to limit our players at all. We don't want to have it be like choosing a race will soft lock you out of this stuff, but it really still doesn't. If you don't want to, you don't have to strip the entire game system. Maybe make a small alteration.
Your primary is your magic. Yes, that's how you make your money. But what do you do once you have a lot of money? invested into your heavy armor, or
Yes.
invested into longsword, or invested into stealth. Now,
Like, they made
you're
this
slightly more stinky.
They made this big deal out of, like, oh, if you're a high elf, it's so hard to be if you want to be a high elf warrior. It's like, it's really not. Sure, your high elf disposition makes you more apt towards magic, but you can still be the fucking barbarian psycho wielding an axe.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd just be harder to level it because you don't have no starting bonuses on it.
And even then, they usually give you the option of, like, oh, you don't like any of this? They'll then just make your own class. Boom.
Yeah. Now, go to Skyrim, build your own Dragonborn workshop doesn't seem to be open this time of year.
No, it's just like, it's really more like Build-A-Bear. You can make this adorable little thing, but still just a little piece of cloth filled with cotton, you know?
And then you look at the girl beside you, and she has the exact same teddy bear.
Yeah,
You're
or
like, but
a completely
special?
different looking teddy bear, but it's still just a teddy bear.
And then you're like, well, what makes mine special, Mommy? And then you look at the girl across the road that went to the dollar variety store, and she has like this elephant, zebra, lion, chimera hybrid that spews fire, and you're like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah,
I want that.
Yeah, exactly. Skyrim is the flashiness, I guess. Skyrim is the dazzle, the razzle. They hit him with their old razzle dazzle, and it did great things for their sales. The problem is they stripped a lot of that good, juicy RPG stuff out of there that really drew people in the first place.
You know, you messed up whenever the very first mod that was ever invented for Skyrim was a mod to add RPG elements to it.
Exactly.
That's when you say, gentlemen, I think we might have.
Imagine if Far Cry
slightly wrong.
Imagine, because Far Cry has always been fairly honest about what it is. It's a survival shooter. Yes, you can gradually make yourself stronger. It has light RPG elements, but it's always been what it is: a shooter, an open world shooter.
Yeah.
Now imagine the next Far Cry game. They say, "No, we're an RPG. We've always been an RPG." It's just like, where?
That's like. From New Vegas, you're like, all right, well, we got karma systems. I could
faction
be the good guy.
relationships.
I could be the good guy, bad guy. Faction. Faction
traits.
Relationships.
When you're creating your character, you can pick traits like your character is nearsighted, so they get a perception bonus when they wear glasses, but without glasses, they get a perception damage.
And then you go to Fallout 4, and they're like, nope, you're only the good guy. There's no evil really here.
They had to murder the entirety of Diamond City, and we'll still love you.
It's like, yeah, you're still the good guy. They had to literally add a DLC just so people could have an evil character somewhere, and it had to be in a Nuka World DLC, and you had to be over level 30. It's like, so I'm a good guy until level 30, and then I can finally start role playing as my evil character. Well, then,
oh god, can I go off topic for a second?
Sure, go ahead.
So I went to Nuka World as like one of my first things in Fallout 4.
Like in real life?
No. In Fallout 4, I got overeager. I was like, oh hell yeah, Nuka World! I want to go see what Nuka-Cola was doing pre-war, So I got stuck in Nuka World, and I just had to play most of that DLC with God mode on. I was so severely underleveled.
I mean, didn't it warn you though that it had the level recommendation?
I either blatantly missed it or just ignored it, thinking I could strong arm my way through.
It does give you a warning. I'm pretty sure it does.
I probably just blanked out. But this is just a dumb little story about me. But back to the point.
Yeah, and I mean they did that same thing with Fallout 4, where it's so mainstream that it's no longer an RPG. It's a first-person shooter.
Yes,
that's it. It's just a shooter game now.
With
even a few RPG elements.
I will say that Fallout 3 was not perfect in terms of that, but I still feel like they did a good job at letting you pick more. Sure, the story doesn't change much overall.
I see Fallout New Vegas as a RPG with shooter elements.
Yes,
and then it became Fallout 4, which was a shooter
with light RPG elements. Like, yes, you can improve your stats, but is it really an RPG when the stuff you're improving is, oh, with this perk, I can now do 25% more damage. Or with this perk, I have a chance of dealing 50% more damage with a critical hit. That's still just shooting improvement. That's just improvements, not actually
It's
like
gonna say,
crafting a
well,
character.
It's like what is his name? Preston. You know, he's at the museum.
Yeah.
Mom won't you let me sit there and kill out all the bandits, and then when I get to the room, kill him out, grab his fucking hat, and then take off with the power armor, and then say, hey, I don't care. I plan on joining the, whatever they are, the institution.
The Institute, yeah. I think
It's
that
irrelevant.
right there is like one of your very first real red flags in Fallout 4, if you're expecting like an RPG, is the fact that not only do they bottle you in into like saying like, hey, help this dude, they also bottle you in into a gunfight where it's basically impossible to sneak. Melee will be very hard because they're up on the, they're up on the upper walkways, so melee's basically out, so you have to shoot. You immediately get, what's the term? Bottlenecked into playing a shooter.
Yeah, because if you played the earlier Fallouts, and I mean like Fallout 1 or 2,
You
90%
can be
of that was melee.
anything.
It had to be melee because
Ammo's scarce.
It's the post-apocalyptic world.
And
Ammos and guns are
And that
scarce.
is what you're getting promised, right? It's you're role-playing in a post-apocalyptic RPG. That was the tagline.
And
So-
now you get in Fallout 4 where everybody and their cat and their uncle and their Fred George that's
has a
bound to
fucking
wheelchair
Fat Man mini nuke launcher.
has a gun and 45 boxes saved up.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened? Is this Call
Not
of
to
Duty
mention
or
knowledge of
Fallout?
advanced robotics. Like everyone just has turrets sitting around. Like how the hell? When the
Yeah.
engineer come through here?
It's like, boy, this is a fishery that they can fish in. Why is there 6 turrets on the roof?
Yes, exactly.
What were they expecting in the pre-war area that was going to come after this fishery?
Yeah, I just have this visual of like fucking nine
And then they're
nine
like,
of the
oh,
red
well,
team engineers just running through, building a dispenser here,
and they're
wrecked
like,
in
oh,
a
well,
sentry.
the bandits that took over, these uneducated wastelanders built
That's right.
a
You see
built
turrets
a
a hell of a
turret
lot in
system?
bandit strongholds.
with a integrated terminal system, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh god, I have not thought about that in a while. That's right, bandits have fully integrated into like the old pre-war computers a way of controlling their made out of
Spotlight.
junk sentry turrets.
And spotlights and alarm systems.
Oh my god, I have not even considered that in a while.
And it's like, college, maybe? I don't know. Where did they learn this?
What college? The College of Radioactive Mud?
I mean, this is post-apocalyptic. It's like saying, well, this is a survival in the winter here. You're supposed to stay warm. By the way, we start you with inside of a submarine underwater with an unlimited heat source. It's like, well, then I'm
set.
not surviving. What? What? Just don't leave the submarine, and I'm all right. So, and it's like, well, and yeah, I mean, I totally see it where they force you is because if you have a few melees, it's like, I got a fat man.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, and then they practically, unless you're really, really good at stealth,
You know what
which
they
stealth don't
did?
do good, they force you in power armor.
I just realized something. They pulled a Skyrim in Fallout 4. Think about
Yeah.
it. All the other games made you really build up your strength. In Skyrim, you're given Dragonborn strength immediately. Like, you're given a pretty OP shout that it's the only one I used through my entire playthrough of over 1,000 hours, Unrelenting Force. Once you get that maxed out, you can knock over basically anybody, right?
Yeah, except for some major bosses.
But then it still staggers them, which gives you a good opening. And then in Fallout 4, they give you power armor and a settlement really quickly, which really gives you this overpowered base and piece of defense,
And then you ask yourself, you're like, well, when you use that shout, where were you? It's like, oh, I was a barbarian with my two-handed axe, and it staggered it, and I swung at it, and you're like, great. And then, you ask Tim, like, Tim, where were you? Oh, I shouted at it and staggered it. Oh, what was you? Well, I was a sneaky thief, so after I staggered it, I walked up there and slashed at it. Wizard, well, I went up there and blew fire at it. Then
it's basically all the same thing. You staggered it, then you attacked it head on. Like, it's still the same thing.
It's like, well, can you do that with more? Don't you do that with Morrowind? No. With Morrowind, that do different types of attacks. If you may be a warrior, but you can find an enchanted ring that shoots lightning.
Exactly.
So if you're like, hey, I know I can't beat that guy, so I'm going to stand on top. I'm going to jump on top of this roof because my acrobatics is high enough.
Exactly.
And just spam this ring at him, and when he's half health, then I could jump down and do that. But as a wizard, I may not need to do that.
That's one of the things. So Skyrim was my first introduction to Elder Scrolls, right? And so I had no previous experience. I was a blank slate to the series. And one of my first observations was... What?
You have my condolences. Then.
Yes, thank you. One of my first things I noticed, being that Skyrim was one of my very first mature games as well, and somehow I had the wherewithal to realize, like, wait, movement feels really stiff and limited in this game. Like, I can't really do much other than attack them head on.
And no matter how much you jump, you'll never jump any better.
No, but meanwhile, I can go backwards, head to Morrowind, and all of a sudden I have this myriad of options if I'm willing to say, like, oh...
Or you're jumping from roof to roof and throwing ninja stars and teleporting.
You can actually do this in Morrowind! We're not exaggerating here.
And it's like... Why think that's so complex that the average person could not do that? I mean, if someone else figured it out, just because they don't figure it out to do it, doesn't mean you should take it away from the people that could figure out how to use that to their advantage. If the
people want to have a simple playthrough, then let them have a simple playthrough. But you have people who want to do...
You can literally grab that simple playthrough, pick a average character, average race, average skill set, class.
And go for the most simple, most brute force things, like more health, more defense, more attack damage.
To jump once. You don't have to run fast. You don't have to cast a single spell. You don't have to use a single enchanted item. And you can go through the whole
And that playthrough is still possible in Morrowind. You can have a pretty simple playthrough in Morrowind.
Except for in Skyrim and Fallout 4, you have no choice but play the simple character.
Oh, you have choices. You could say, oh, I like to use pistols. Or I like to use, rifles. Or, nope, that's about it.
Because in Fallout New Vegas, and even in Fallout 3, they have the small arm skill.
Yes.
The character, I make her able to use small guns, aka a rifle meant for long range. She's sneaky and she hits you from a range. It's a sniper build.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
Or you could invest into melee, actually. I did an entire playthrough where I was a melee build. And I won...
A Morrowind build, so melee sneak.
So I ended up taking on the Enclave and rescuing the Wasteland with a... I kid you not, a pool cue.
I mean, and I usually 99% of the time when I was in my sneak mode and I pulled that trigger and I shot them in the head, they die.
Yes, because your sneak bonuses actually counted.
And I either got good karma or bad karma depending on the person I shot.
Yes.
Hence, we go to Fallout 4.
Where they streamline things so that you don't have to think about your actions or consequences or anything at all. It goes from being a role-playing game to just like, hey, shoot.
I go into that crouch mode and shoot that same rifle again, and they lose less than a 200th.
They beefed up super mutants way too much.
I'm talking even about a rad roach, I can't even sneak kill a rad roach in there, and I've done
That's
headshots.
Right. They added ridiculously strong rad roaches, as if that actually matters.
It's like, but how am I stealthy if I have to do 7 reloads to kill you? That's not a sniper stealth.
Well, Vault Dweller, have you ever used VATS? Oh, you have? No. Oh, shit.
Yeah, VATS just helps you aim. It doesn't increase your damage. I can hit them just fine. It's not the hitting of them that's hard to do. It's the killing them that's the hard part, because I had to do 7 reloads with a sniper rifle.
Yes,
People.
a sniper rifle, a high-powered thing that in real life is able to penetrate armored trucks and in some cases tanks. Didn't kill that guy wearing the pot pan for a helmet.
Yeah, that guy that his hair just happened to be so voluptuous that it ricocheted the bullet off and killed the bird that was up there. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, but why? Because it's because it's an action shooter. It's not a survival.
Oh,
game.
this is the RPG elements, everybody. The fact that your high-powered, super awesome sniper rifle doesn't kill him because he had more HP points. HP.
But this little 9mm pistol here, by the way, does triple the damage just because reasons.
Yes.
It's just because we want you to play something that shoots faster. If it's a machine gun, it'll do more damage.
Now, this is the funny thing right here. Because Fallout 3...
And I'm going to get off topic just for a second,
All
and
right.
I'll let you continue. But this is the only time I'm going to probably try to get off topic here. And it's a pet peeve, and I would slit a man's throat for this. I hate it a lot. And I've gotten in so many arguments with people up there at GameStop and restaurants and everything. Fallout 1, 2, 3, Tactics, whatever have you, the Elder Scrolls from Arena to Skyrim, they are not a survival game. That is not the definition of survival. Resident Evil 2 is not a survival game. It is a horror game. A survival game is something like The Forest, where you have to maintain your health as a form of food and water and exercise and disease management. That is the technical dictionary definition of survival.
I actually can see what you're coming from.
You can call it a shooter. You can call it an action shooter.
I'm going to have to retract that I said that Far Cry was a survival shooter then.
But
you do not have to maintain
a survival game. What about hardcore mode? Is that the general intended way that Bethesda intended?
Hardcore mode is pretty much just a bonus mode if you feel like it, so that's still not there.
A survival game.
If anything, that's almost like a DLC or a mod even, you could say. So it's not like the game was made to be played like that, it's just an option if you feel like it.
Yeah, it's like, well, do you want a little bit more challenge? All right, then here you go. We'll add some thirst and food into it. Well, was that the default settings? No, then it's not a survival game.
No.
Just because I install a mod into Skyrim for me to require food does not make it a survival game. It's just
I'm going to make a comparison here that people will either love or be confused by or hate, but I'm going to say that Fallout 4 should have tried to lean more into Borderlands. You know Borderlands?
Yeah, it's basically what it was. It's Borderlands.
Well, that's just
Let me kill you and get your legendary weapon because you're a legendary boss.
But here's the thing. Bethesda half-assed it because there were still so many caps on like enemy levels and damage levels and everything. They should have just gone full Borderlands, and that just like you never run out of finding good loot. Like, just don't put caps on it. Just keep building it up. Let yourself be level 200, coming across level 250 enemies, and they're giving away guns that deal like millions in damage.
Yeah.
If you really want to go the route of we want to focus more on shooting, then focus more into finding cool stuff.
That shoots.
Yes. Hell, even Borderlands actually had better RPG elements than Fallout 4. Because you would pick your class as like Gunzerker or Assassin, and your skill trees would reflect what class you picked. And from there, you get 3 skill trees. And then you can diversify into whatever those skill trees specialize in, right?
Yeah, so, but never call Skyrim or Fallout, no matter which, even if it's the old ones, they're not survival horrors. They're not survival shooters. They're not survival in any way. If you're going to declare that, well, you're supposed to stay alive, then Super Mario Brothers for the NES would be a survival.
Could be a survival game, yes. So, I think we've Should we keep talking? We've gone on for nearly an hour.
I think we kind of got it off our chest. So, I mean, I guess old people would like their old things. Some people don't like the change. I
Well-
mean, we could play the. We could, if you want, we could quickly try to defend instead of all hate on Skyrim. Well, we should play.
Why not do a
let's flip
lightning
the coin.
round?
Let's flip the coin and then try to so-called convince ourselves that it's not that bad. You know, the
All
way
right,
it is.
let me try. Starting off with
The storyline of being a dragonborn with shouts that's never been done before. That is
unique. That is unique. Yes, that is something that we have not really
no matter
seen.
what you do in Morrowind or Oblivion, you can't shout.
This is a bit shallow. I want to actually give like a genuine prop to Skyrim because I still love Skyrim. I still had a lot of fun.
I love the NPC interactions with it and the randomness of the
That is one thing
random
I
events.
will say right now. The fact that you don't ever run out
and
of
it had
things
a
to do.
shit
really.
ton of side quests. You know, just walking in town. Oh, can you deliver this necklace to the next town? Well, in Oblivion, they rarely had very few of them, and in Morrowind, there's like 4 of them in the entire game. That was
A lot
side
of the
quests.
time, they actually kept you pretty, like, focused in an area, but Skyrim actually encouraged you to adventure more, like, really experience the world.
It's like, hey, yeah, did you deliver that amulet? By the way, the innkeeper gave me this note with this bandit camp. You know, 2 or 3, you know, markers up. Go get that.
See, that's what
Okay.
you do. Like you can go talk to the Jarl's, whatever the assistants were called. You know, that.
You know, and there's a lot of details. You could sit down in a tavern, and if you sit down in a tavern, that waitress will actually walk out of that kitchen, walk up to you, and initiate
And
a
take your
conversation.
order.
And take your order. You can't do that in Oblivion or Morrowind.
No, you can. It's actually, there is some really impressive attention to detail in Skyrim.
There's some good AI in that game. You know, bar the
Bethesda's usual goofiness.
Skyrim space program, but
Yeah, that's more of a physics thing than an AI thing.
yeah, but I mean, hey,
Personally, I wish companies would leave in goofy physics like that because I think it's an absolute gift when it happens.
I mean, they haven't patched it out, so there you go.
I think people should focus in on that more. I think a little bit of goofy physics now and then just makes the world a better place.
Yeah, and if you want to be super serious with it, fine. Look up a mod and see if some modder hasn't tweaked that, and then you can have your dead serious, you know, funeral march if you want.
Yes.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You understand what we're saying? We're saying is playing Skyrim is bad.
I'm
What we're
gonna do a thing.
Preference.
Like, I'm not sure if you know about this, but if anyone listening to this actually does know this, I'll be shocked. I'm gonna bring up an old Sega Genesis game called Fatal Labyrinth. And what this game did, I think, was fantastic. You know what gold got you in that game?
It got you experience and levels.
In that game, gold served no purpose other than giving you a better funeral at your game over screen.
Well, that's nice. I like that.
I just wanted to bring that up real quick. I don't even know how that came into, but I think somehow dead serious I thought of that. I don't know.
I said funeral march is why.
Yeah, I think so. Brain decided to go on a different tangent.
Understand, we do not hate Skyrim. We do not hate Fallout 4. Now we do hate the Elder Scrolls Online, and we do hate Fallout 76. But who doesn't?
Honestly, I really don't
mean-
care, but don't tell me that these games are an excellent addition to the series, okay?
Skyrim and Fallout 4, yeah, they're good additions.
Okay,
the
so
other-
I'll say that, like, Skyrim, great game to play. Fallout 4, oh god, I have sunk so much time into Fallout 4. I love that game. But if you're
Not
telling me
bad.
that these games are so amazing as an addition to the series, they're not even the same games. They're completely
No.
different systems. They behave completely differently.
Yeah.
That's because they have streamlined it to the point where they are not the thing that originally
wrap this
drew
off-
us in.
And to wrap this off, we was going to talk about that. I am terrified of the new Elder Scrolls coming up.
Oh yeah, that's coming soon, isn't it?
Yeah, year 2078, something like that.
Whew. Probably.
But I am absolutely terrified of how this release is going to go. I'm afraid that they're going to streamline it so much that you won't even have classes. You'll just be a creature, a thing, everybody's Imperial. Everybody's the same.
At this point, a new variable has been added as well. Don't forget, Microsoft just bought Bethesda.
And
who knows how that's going to affect it?
Will, be female and the other half will be male. You won't even tell the difference that your character is male or female unless she happens to grunt or something. All the clothes will look the same on all the characters. All the armors will act the same. There'll be no skills to level up. You just grab a weapon and you're automatically just talented with it because there's no skills anymore. If there were classes, they'd all have the same starter stats. It's like, I know they're going to do that. I promise you that they will take something out. There will be even less RPG. I can promise you that. Even less RPG than there is in Skyrim. Because they've been doing it since Daggerfall. Because in Daggerfall, they had so many different things. And then in Morrowind, they took out all the languages like the Daedric, the Imp, the Dragon, the, Nymph. They took out Thermology on it, which is a different form of magic.
I can't remember how to pronounce that.
Yeah, they took out a few other things like immunity to magic, where you could pick that as a perk.
Just real quickly, I remember the first time I have not really played Daggerfall yet, but I have booted it up and tried like a little bit of character creation to see what I was getting into. Yeah. And I remember thinking, what the fuck is this word?
It's Thermaurgy. Yeah.
Thermal underwear.
Thermal underwear. And then when they went from Morrowind, they went from, short blades and long blades to just one-handed or to blades, which...
you mean Oblivion?
Yeah, from Oblivion, they went to just blades, where one-handed and two-handed is... So, in other words, if you was that's what I hated about Oblivion. I do have hates on Oblivion, where, okay, I'm an assassin, which... I have high blade skill because my dagger, but if I happen to draw a two-handed claymore, I'm just as talented with it.
Yeah, that kind of doesn't make sense, because it's a completely different thing. You gotta adjust... If you look at, like, using things in real life, you gotta adjust your weight, how you swing, so you don't damage your back.
It's a totally different fighting style than dagger.
Yes.
Or one-handed. How many one-handed people you see?
Actually, let's get that right. Let's get this right now. Even Skyrim had one-handed and two-handed skills.
but I'm still saying that they dumbed it even now. Now you don't even have strength, intelligence, wisdom, willpower.
Wait, no, I gotta also walk that back as well. One-handed also somehow governs axes and maces.
Yeah, so they still squeezed it all. Where let's give them the least amount of skills to deal with, and that way they can focus more on the gameplay. Your gameplay is garbage. Give me the skills, and what makes the gameplay.
Part of the gameplay is the fact that your skills actually affect how you traverse the world and deal with combat. So when you have like nothing affecting combat, and it's pretty much just combat, then you start to realize like, wait, this is really simple and boring. I could be playing a mobile game with in-app purchases that gives me more entertainment value than this combat.
I've seen idle games with more RPG elements,
My talking Tom!
That if you say Hail Satan to, his eyes roll back and he'll start twitching.
Exactly. That's the good experience we want.
That is good, wholesome family fun. But exactly. I'll let Force Boy wrap this up.
Yeah, I think we gotta go now because we're up to an hour and 2 minutes, and I think that is enough on that subject for now. Thank you for watching / listening, depending on whatever you are doing, and thank you to Master Mecha for being here with this journey of, I don't know, complaining.
Yeah, we just basically complained for a whole hour.
Yeah, we're with it. It was good therapy, if nothing else. So, until next time...
Remember the golden rule. This is all our opinion.
Of course.
It's not proven fact.
I'm not
this
saying
will not affect your life.
That I'm objectively right or wrong. I'm just saying this is how I feel.
This is our feelings and our thoughts and opinions, not our facts that you have to take to heart.
Probably should have said this at an hour ago, but
I'm sure nobody on the internet comments before the video's up. They always wait until the very end.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be fine.
Later, y'all.
Yeah. And so until next time, this has been Forest Boy and GameMasterMecha, and this has been our little podcast. Stay fresh, stay green, and stay sappy, and I will see you next time at Forest Boy Productions.